All right. Awesome. So welcome everybody. We're so glad that you're joining us today. We have a really special guest, Nate. Let me see if I can pronounce this right. Tumpach. Tumpach.
That's all
I
right.
practiced the name beforehand and don't know that I got it exactly right, but he has just an incredible story, that on this both YouTube and podcast, we are from pain to passion and sharing these stories where people have gone through really dark seasons in their life. And it's because of those that now it has led to really their passion and their purpose and how they're helping to change the world and change those around them. And where people are out of that dark season, because sometimes when you're in it, it can be really difficult to see anything but the pain. And it's really, I think, very helpful to hear other people's stories of how that process led them to something really good. So we are so excited to have you on here, Nate. I know you have walked through a crazy, crazy experience.
Absolutely, yes.
Being told by your doctor that there's no medical explanation that you're alive. So let's go ahead and backtrack a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background, kind of where you came from, and leading up to the accident and what happened.
Okay. So I am from Wisconsin. Love it here. Went to school at Steubenville, Ohio, Franciscan University. Uh, Obtained 2 degrees before I had actually decided that I would come back home. And so I came back home. I couldn't find a teaching job and started a job in a warehouse and had worked that job for 16 years and was just kind of a monotonous job, day in, day out, and just kind of continuing 16 years worth. So not exactly what I wanted to do. Started off as teaching was what I ended up with, a degree for teaching in history. So I would teach social studies, which isn't really my first desire when I had gone to school, which was biology, medicine, etc. So kind of put on the back burner, I guess. And then 16 years of working at the warehouse, got into the accident, and that kind of changed everything.
So tell us a little bit about that day and what happened exactly.
So what happened was I was visiting my sister, because I'm a nice brother like that. And
We're good brothers.
and I had started heading home. I don't even remember exactly what happened with the accident as such. I was headed back home, literally about a half mile from home. I was hit head on by a work truck. I was med flighted to the hospital. I think I had to wait actually like a day and a half before they even started surgery. I was so swollen and whatnot. But 23, I want to say 23 broken bones, shoulders completely destroyed. There's literally plates holding my collarbone in place, pins all throughout my shoulder, plates in my hip, and also in my foot, which they did take out eventually. So it was pretty, and I had actually two, not one, but two traumatic brain injuries. So there were severe traumatic brain injuries. And the doctor who had operated on me had said he didn't have a medical explanation of how I'm alive. He said, based on the injuries that we saw, everything that you've been through, how swollen you were, et cetera, there's no medical explanation.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
So, okay, so after an injury like that, after an accident like that, what was your process? So were you in a coma? What was that whole?
Yes, I was pretty much in kind of in and out of it, mostly out of it. for about 3 weeks straight. I was in the ICU at the hospital. Obviously, they had me on all kinds of different painkillers and drugs like
Yeah.
that, which probably kept me kind of knocked out and whatnot.
Mhm.
But a lot of surgery, 14, I think 16, 18 hours, something like that, worth
Mhm.
of surgery. Um, and out of it in a coma basically for about 3 weeks. And then after that, then I was moved to a rehab hospital, um, a little distance away. So
So once you realized what had happened, what was your thought process? Where did you even go mentally during that?
well, my first thought was, is where am I? What's going on? Um,
Yeah.
I just kind of, to a degree, I kind of relaxed a little bit and thought,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to be taken care of by somebody.
Mhm.
Something's happening, something happened. I wasn't quite aware exactly as far as the accident, what exactly had happened. I knew something medically bad had happened to me.
Yeah.
So I hate to say let it go, but
Mhm.
I kind of let it go at that point when the first rehab hospital I'd gone to. So that was kind of my mindset, was kind of recover a little bit, um, kind of reevaluate in several weeks after I had some time to recover, let my body, brain, etc. recover.
Wow. How long were you in there for? At what point did you finally get out? And then did you need someone to help take care of you once you got out of the hospital?
Um, right. So it was about 3 months. Rehab hospital.
Mhm.
There were two different rehab hospitals. The one I was in for about a month to start. The second one, the final one, was for about 2 months.
Wow.
And then after that, I had actually ended up, I was able to come home.
Mm.
Healing was ridiculously crazy, awesome. I mean, it was fabulous. I was ready to walk, I don't know, a lot sooner than they had even expected. I was walking, don't tell anybody, but I was walking when I wasn't supposed to. So,
I totally hear that. Um, mm. So as you're getting back into your walking and getting back into movement and being home, starting to just, I guess, in some ways, learn to live again and do all the normal things, what was that like for you? Where was your mental place? Were you depressed? Were you, hey, I'm just grateful to be alive? At what point, did you have some mental shifts throughout that?
I think that's probably the best way of putting it. I was just excited that I was still alive. Um, and I think there were a couple appointments while I was still in rehab with the doctor, who had told me that, he didn't have a medical explanation how I'm alive. He's told
Mhm.
me that numerous times. So that was kind of my mindset, was I can't believe I'm alive. I love life. Life is fabulous. Oh, well, yeah, I have to have
I'm not
surgery.
done with me yet.
Yeah, I had to have plates out of my foot. I think it was about 2 months after I had gotten home, and I was ecstatic. I thought, no big deal. I've had surgery now a few times, so whatever. I was so excited to be alive. It was
Wow.
ridiculous. Yeah.
What what role did faith or hope or any of that play in your role at that point?
It was that was the best part. Was I had so much time. I did rehab exercises, which lasted half an hour, 45 minutes maybe.
Right.
But I had a lot of laying in bed time, a lot of sitting in eventually a wheelchair in my room, just sitting there. So I was able to actually pray rosaries, read Bible, etc. So it was an amazing time to actually pray and I guess communicate on my part, communicate with God.
Mm.
What do you want from me? Why did this happen? All those thoughts kind of passed through. But
Yeah.
the side note of that is I'm alive. You allowed me to be alive.
Wow. So you walked through this and you're
Hmm.
grateful to be alive. And now you're doing something really cool. So how did that lead into that? into what you're doing now?
So ironically, what I wanted to go to college for was to be a doctor.
Mm,
Um, and as is normal with quite a few students, a little party hardy. I spent too much time socializing, partying, I guess you would say.
mhm,
And so I kind of switched from pre-med, a biology degree, to history and
mm,
teaching. So that desire to do something with the medical had been there for a long time. And so um, the doctor had told me, you're not going to be able to go back to work in the warehouse. He said, you're going to basically, your body is going to fall apart. So I basically kind of had time to think, what am I going to do?
mm,
And with prayer, figured out, hey, God's smacking me in the face with a nice big injury. Do what I want you to do and finish what you started, which
mm.
was pursue working in the medical career, help other people. You've been helped by those people.
Wow.
Um, do your part, do what I want you to do, and help other people, and specifically medicine. So I think that was kind of, I think, obvious to me,
Mhm.
a little bit through prayer. Not so much, I guess you would say, to other people, like, why are you doing this? You worked in, a warehouse for 16 years. What are you
Mhm,
doing? But for me, it was just kind of it was an obvious decision through prayer.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Sometimes when we are going through these hard moments and hard seasons, as friends or even as family, we don't know how to help those around us at times who are in a rough season.
Right.
Knowing what you know, having been there, what for you, how did family and friends, how did they help you during that season? And in turn, what would you say to someone who maybe has a friend or family member who is going through a rough time? What would you say to them? And what was how was that helpful for you?
Well, first of all, a lot of butterscotch pudding. That's what you need to give those people. Butterscotch pudding. My
Wonderful.
mom would come visit me at the second rehab place that I was at, the hospital I was at, would bring me butterscotch pudding. But she always encouraged me to pray. Pray for God's will. Pray what figure out what He wants of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my biggest thought to other people is patience.
Mm-hmm.
Patience, and more patience.
Yeah.
Prayerful patience, consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what God wants of you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a relative or a friend that's going through something similar or kind of the same circumstance, um, pray with them,
Mm-hmm.
pray for them, and be patient with them. Those
Mm-hmm.
are the things I would say. And I think that's what helped me the most was my family, my parents in particular, were very patient,
Mm-hmm.
patient with me, helping me get to where I needed to be physically.
Yeah.
Um, I guess just emotionally, spiritually, etc. That was a big support system. I guess I had was a
Yeah.
lot of family. So
Mhm.
absolutely.
That's a gift. What was one or two lessons that you really came out of it with?
I think God's will be done is one of the primary things that I kind of came out of it with is God is going to do what God wants to do. Whether
Mhm.
you're just driving home from visiting a sister, if
Mhm.
you want something to happen, it's going to happen.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
so keep that in mind. The other thing is again, like I just said, patience. You need to, I guess, learn patience with your life, with what you want to do, with God,
Yeah.
um, and figure out what you want to do, but give God the chance, give him the
Yeah.
patience that he needs to work.
It's interesting that early on you had this desire and dream in your heart, but then kind of put it to the wayside. It
Right.
reminds me how important it is to pay attention to those things that are on our hearts from an early time or even
Absolutely.
an early age, because sometimes I think we can be tempted to disregard them when they're there for a reason. And if we don't pay
Right.
attention, at some point, we're either going to wish we did, or at some point, it's probably going to come back
Absolutely. Yep.
I've used that for sure.
Definitely.
Okay, here's kind of the quick round. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. I didn't prep you on this.
Okay.
What would you say is one or two of the best books you have ever read and that have been really helpful for you?
Johnny Tremaine.
Mm, what's
I
that about?
don't know how many people have even heard of Johnny
I've
Tremaine.
never heard. Tell me about it.
Revolutionary War era, and one of my favorite books. I,
Mm,
I I can't say enough about it, but I think it's an awesome book. Um, I guess I see the theme of patience in it. That's just me,
mm,
which is kind of random. It's not a religious book as such,
mhm.
but it's about the Revolutionary War. So
Awesome. And what is one quote that you live by or that really always speaks to you?
one quote.
Mhm.
Um, off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to say one, honestly. There's so many that I don't think there's one specifically right now that I could even say, but
Or
um,
what is one theme? I'm noticing patience.
let go and let God.
Mm,
Let go and let God. Let God do what he needs to do, wants to do, and is going to do, whether you want him to or not.
mm.
Let go and let God.
When you
Yeah.
look back at all of that and this whole season, so how long ago was the accident?
It'll be 3 years, March 15th.
Wow. When you look back over the last 3 years, do you look back on it? Is there a gratefulness for it? Is there a little bit of bitterness? Is there where's your heart with all that in
I
your
think gratefulness, honestly. I think it's helped me view a lot of things in the world, um, I guess, differently. Just
yeah.
people in general, interactions with people, um, help me to understand that uh, God should be our focus. Number one, first and foremost. That's it. He should be our focus, not money, not
Mm,
not jobs, not cars, not all the I guess worldly possessions. God should be our focus. I think that's like probably one of the best things. So like um, mostly I'm grateful, I guess, for it.
mm. Awesome. Well, Nate, thank you so much for being on here and just sharing your story and sharing your heart with us. And if people wanted
Absolutely.
to get a hold of you, if they're going through a rough time and just wanted someone to talk to, or they want to know more about your story, how can they reach you?
Email is probably the best, honestly.
Okay.
I'm fairly busy with my new career pursuits. So,
Yeah.
yes, just Tumpach at Gmail.
Awesome. We'll post that in the notes here so you guys can reach out to
Okay,
me if you need to. But again, thank you so much. Time is such a gift and one of the most
absolutely.
valuable things we have. And I appreciate you spending some of your time with us today and just sharing from your heart. So you guys, thank
Thank
you
you.
for listening and thank you for watching. If you want to follow us, we're all over social media from Pain to Passion. We have our YouTube channel and our podcast. And we just thank you for tuning in. If you know someone who also has a story like where they've gone through a rough space, a rough time, and then it has fueled into their passion and their purpose, we'd love to hear their story. So feel free to send them this way. Thanks again, you guys. Have an awesome week. Bye.